I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign.
Did you ever wear a paper bag over your head as a Halloween costume? Well, chances are, yes, if you're a baby boomer. What this has to do with today's video is coming up shortly. Hi, I'm Cindy Chevely. I started my YouTube channel probably about a year ago as a way to introduce myself and showcase some of my still photography. I spent the last year learning about video, how to edit a little bit more professionally, a little more about audio, and more about how YouTube works, with the plan of showcasing more of my travel landscape photography. But you know, the best laid plans sometimes don't work out, and it looks like for the next bit of time, probably till the end of the year, I will be spending a little more time closer to home. And with that in mind, I thought that instead of showing you my travel portfolio, I would show you a little bit more about an ongoing project I have that, for lack of a better term, I call artifacts. Maybe you can come up with a better term for it after I explain a bit about the concept. In fact, I think I will start showing you some of the work I've done on this portfolio right now. Let me explain the concept to you. Over the last 25 years, I've been selling full-time on eBay. That is, until I retired. Back in the eBay heyday, it really was possible to sell used stuff full-time and make a living selling, reselling on eBay. That was back in the heyday, and now I'm not so sure, but that's another story. My point was that my partner and I spent a whole lot of time going to estate sales, garage sales, secondhand stores, thrift stores, auctions, you name it. And along the way, I started noticing that some of the items, or surprisingly a lot of the items or objects, had little stories attached to them. Now, these weren't grand novels by any means, but like little notes about where the item came from, or how the recipient received it, or who they received it from, and sometimes even a date. And I found it kind of sad that these little sentimental items often ended up going to the highest bidder, the earliest estate sale goer, me, who was planning on reselling them, instead of, or even worse, into the trash, instead of going to a loved one or a family member, which got me started on this project. Originally, I focused on only items that had little notes attached to them, but as the project has gone on, I think there's a little room for a few other items that were obviously set aside for future use or to be passed on to a loved one. Now that I'm no longer working full-time and getting older, it's starting to become apparent to me that I have my own collection of artifacts that need to be sorted out. So I need to tackle these other artifacts that I've collected along the way, get them photographed, and send them on to somebody who actually might want them or deal with them so I can clean out my own stuff. My thought is that while I am more close to home and not out traveling and doing landscape photography, I would shoot some of these in my little studio here and take you along and show you the process. So let me show you a couple of the items that I'm intending on photographing so you can kind of see what's going on, and then I will show you what my first item on the agenda is to add to my growing portfolio called artifacts. Okay then, here are a few of the items that I plan on photographing for the artifacts project in studio. Now this is just the tip of the iceberg, but here are a few of the examples of things that I'm thinking about in the near future. I've got a paper bag full of assorted buttons. Here's a Jif jar, and I believe the Jif jar, let's just double check, I believe it has like a bunch of political pins in it from Nixon and Kennedy and the like. So, political pins. There's another little baggie in here with union pins, and I think that somewhere around here I've also got some union dues books that I can put with this and make some kind of studio still life with that. There's some other things in here, odds and ends. Here's a leather postcard from 1907. That might make an interesting subject as well. So I'll have to go through it a little bit more closely. Here's a tobacco cigar box, and it's full of Volts March medals from the late 70s, early 1970s. This came from an estate sale of a military family. I think he was stationed all over the world, and while he was in Germany, they did a lot of Volts marching or walking, and they are quite proud of these. I see they have quite a collection in this shoebox, and they still have some of the estate sale price tags on them. I also have this caliper set from the 60s. It has a little note in it, signed from Dad. It's indicating that this is a set of calipers that he used for blueprints to make for Brian Jackson, whoever that is, and it's signed by Dad. And I thought that would make an interesting subject as well. And finally is a writing desk. It's an old Victorian era writing desk. Now, it's not in the most perfect of shape, but you know, what can you expect from something from the early 1800s? Lorna Marie printed up a little certificate about the lineage of this, or the provenance of this writing desk. It belonged to probably her great grandmother, and I'm just guessing because I don't know. I bought this anonymous, at an anonymous estate sale, but she wrote up in 2006 that it was awarded to Lillian Frances Beatrice for winning first place in a school writing competition around 1890. I find it is sort of sad that this ended up in an estate sale, that none of the family wanted it, but that is typical of today's society. If you don't know this about writing desks, they were little boxes that you could, write anywhere on. They included all the necessary items. They had a place for you to store your paper, and they had, here's a little ink well. Here's a spot for another ink well, and they also. The writing desks also usually had a secret hiding spot. In this one, it's right under the pin holder. They would stash things under there. But if you ever come across a writing desk, look for the little hidey hole where there might be something stashed. So that's all that I want to show you, give you an idea of some of the things that I want to photograph for this YouTube series. Today, though, I wanted to start by photographing. Hold on a second, let me get it. Wanted to start by photographing this photo of Halloween costumes. It's written on the back that it's Halloween 1953, so they don't have not a lot of information about it, but every time I see it, I have to laugh because my mother tried to put a bag over my head too for a Halloween costume, and so it just makes me laugh. I do have an old Ouija board, let me turn it around here, an old Ouija board that I thought that I could use as a background for this. So there's going to be a few challenges to taking a picture of this. One, it's glossy, and as you can see, it's catching the light. There's some creases in it, and one of the biggest problems right now that I see is that it's slightly warped, and so I'm going to have to figure out how to get it to lay flat so that we can minimize those reflections. So when I decide get the setup set up in my studio, I will come back to you and show you what I'm up to, how I'm going to light it, and the final project. So I'll see you in a minute. So I decided to keep the theme kind of creating costume or costume creation. So I've added this pair of scissors, the tape measure, and in the background I put this little bag. Now I wouldn't use one of the big bags that we get nowadays because of all the advertising, but I created my own little lunch bag, so we could almost imagine it as a sack for the treats. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to add a little bit of more dimension or levels or layers is what I like to think of it as, and hopefully I can add a little bit of layering and interest by using this tape measure. That's why I'm spending a bit of time twisting and twirling it around so I can get that layer look. And then I want to make sure I'm not going to get the word Ouija in, but I want to make sure that I get the mystifying oracle in. And I've got the scissors sort of pointing to that, like it could almost be one of the Ouija board, I can't think of what it is now, but the thing that you move around on the Ouija board. So I think I've got the shot almost ready to go. A few little things yet to go. I want to add some tack to this. When I'm sure I've got it where I want, I'm going to add a little bit of tack to this to keep the corner down. So I've got this little Ulanzi light that I'm going to see if I can add some fill light or add a little bit more dimension or shadows or of interest. So I'm just going to move it around. And as I move around, you can see that I'm creating more shadows, or excuse me, more glare on the actual picture. So I have to be very careful about that. So after much mucking about, tweaking, I think I have the composition that I like. So let's go ahead and take a test shot. Before I press the shutter though, I'm going to put this in drive mode and give it a 10-second delay. That's a lot longer than I normally do. I usually use the 2-second delay, but this is a heavy camera on a balance beam that is, as we can see, is not really very stable. So that should give it a little bit of time to stabilize. Let's go ahead and pull the trigger. I could see there was a lot of movement. Hopefully the image stabilization was able to compensate for that bit of shaking. Let's take a look. Looks like I got a bit of a glare right in here. So I need to go ahead and fix that, or probably just adding a little bit more tack to that corner should fix it. So let me try that and we'll give it another shot. So as I'm scrolling through this second shot, I know the picture isn't 100% sharp. That's just the nature of older photographs. But I am thinking that this crease here, the tape measure looks fine, but this crease doesn't quite look sharp to me. So I think I'm going to need to do a little manual focusing here because the camera isn't quite picking it up. It's not camera movement, it's where the camera is focusing. So let me give that a shot. Boy, my leveling guide there is really bouncing around, although I know I've leveled the camera both horizontally and vertically. It's just the way that the camera is reading this. It's kind of funny, but what it's telling me is that there's a lot of movement going on, and definitely leaving the image stabilization on. I'm going to try one more time with using manual focus, and I focused sharply or straight in on that crease, so I know that the image or the picture will be as sharp as can be. So let's give it a try. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, that to me looks a lot sharper. That crease looks crystal super sharp. So I'm happy with that. I hope you liked it. A couple of things before I go. One, these glasses. I really love these little pumpkin glasses. They're vintage, and I was hoping to incorporate them into the still life, but they just were too overpowering, and I wanted the photo to be the hero, not these. So I'll have to save them for another photo shoot. And I've got plenty of vintage Halloween stuff around here, so I'm sure I'll find another use for them. So let's wrap this up. that is another addition to my artifacts portfolio. If you're interested in seeing other photos in the collection, I'll leave a link down below. Meanwhile, I hope to see you again here for another in the Artifacts series. I'll see you soon.